Why, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Brent is coming in.
Yep. Sorry. Camera turned off.
That's
Uh,
why I go for the simple webcam.
yeah.
Greetings,
You're.
everyone. Welcome to the OPTIC Challenge Entry Critique. We're going to be starting up in just a couple of minutes as more people join the critique and the Zoom. And wow, has it been an exciting time here at OPTIC. We've done many recordings already of the presentations. We're in busy process of editing them, recruiting more speakers. Boy, we just had an energetic conversation this morning with David Dubele and Jennifer Hayes. They're our keynote speakers for day two. They're doing an amazing presentation on the Pacific, and it's going to be underwater. And David Dubele and Jennifer are National Geographic legends. That's going to be fun. And Brent, you just launched the OPTIC Challenge just 2 days ago?
Yes, absolutely. It's been so exciting. Stuff has started to come in, and we're getting some really great work already. We're very excited.
That's really cool. We've been doing this the virtual challenge now since the lockdown, and hopefully this will be the last one as we return to in-person events. Who knows? Maybe we'll keep this going. But it's been really interesting seeing the thousands upon thousands of images that we get in. And we thought for everybody out there that it would be really helpful to run a critique specifically about the challenge. So let's start with our first slide that we've got going in here and get going on this and share. And everyone should be able to see this. This is the OPTIC Challenge Entry Critique. And what we've done is we've designed some tips to help you get the most out of the OPTIC Challenge. And who are we? Well, I'm David Brommer. I'm the director of OPTIC. I worked with a couple of people in 2015, Ralph Lee Hopkins, Carolyn Delmonico from Lindblad, and Gabriel Biederman. We were in the Sea of Cortez, and we devised OPTIC. And it's grown. This is going to be our 7th OPTIC. And we've also got Brent. Brent, you're the manager of the co-manager along with Anna of the challenge. Welcome.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. It's been a lot of fun to take over it for the virtual events, and we have some great prizes and everything. So I'm super happy to be here for this.
The prizes are killer. It's like well over $50,000 this year. So talking about those prizes that are pretty amazing, I just stopped the screen share for a second. And I want to go back to the camera and just want to talk quickly about hold on a second. I want to talk quickly about our sponsors. The critiques are sponsored by Nikon. Ooh, it just disappeared. Nikon. It's also sponsored by Canon. And I took out some vintage cameras for you, Brent.
Nice.
Canon FTV in black, and man, that black enamel is so beautiful. And a black Nikon SP. And it's also sponsored by Sony. It's a little digital Sony. Sony wasn't making film cameras back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So we had to go with that. So those are our sponsors for today. The actual, at OPTIC, there's going to be special deals on their products, which is pretty exciting. So that's pretty cool. Let's get back to the share and continue along. Okay, so you know who we are now. And, we edit thousands of images. And the question is what qualities keep us from deleting? What keeps the images advancing through the editing process? Brent, do you think this year you alone have edited, do you think 5,000, 7,000? How many images have you edited?
Yeah, I've had to do the pre-edit for multiple judges. Plus, I've been the full judge on the film category for the last two events that we've done. So yeah, it's definitely at least 5,000, if not more. So I mean, this is definitely a great thing because we're looking at so many images and they're in thumbnail form, and then we can enlarge them so that we can click through them. But what's going to make me actually stop, while I'm sitting there on my third cup of coffee going through them and actually look at your image for more than that 3 seconds that you're lucky if you can get,
3 seconds would be a lot. Because when you're editing thousands of images, it's literally we edit very quick here, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly fast. But what does stop us? So we thought that there's actually two main categories that will cause us to stop and to be considered. It's the artistic and the technical. So let's talk about the artistic. Good composition.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's so important. And I've written a Peach Pit Press book on composition that's been translated into 4 languages. I love composition. Good composition makes you feel at ease. Chaotic composition doesn't. So, we're looking for horizons that don't split the picture in half, horizons that are in the top third or the bottom third. We're looking for a good read of the photograph. So your eyes should kind of go to the left and work across, create lines and weight that makes you actually really want to look more at the image and figure it out. Good composition lends itself to that. You're a meter guy. What do you got to say about exposure, Brent?
So yeah, I mean, just proper exposure. It sounds like it's something, but something given. But that being said, there's a lot of times where I'll get an image in this, where I'm scrolling through and it's too dark or too bright, especially in the film category. A lot of people will kind of mess up that latitude or mess up that scan, and then it will just not look right. And that's really problematic. And that's just going to get you thrown right away.
Yeah, that'll just get deleted. So evoke story. Now this is a big one. And I think back to my mentor, Sean Kernan. And he always said, what does this photograph say?
Exactly.
And it's important. That's the story. So it should tell a story. In one shot, they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, there's a lot of pictures out there. There's a lot of words. So it should have a clear story that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, photography has become in the digital world, especially, like a form of communication. But at the same time, what we're looking for here is artistic. So like, I want to know, and need both of that in that image. I need it to communicate to me why you actually took that photograph and why you thought that it was good enough to be submitted for this challenge. And unfortunately, there are some images that just don't do that right off the bat. So those are ones that you have to look at and go, okay, can I see my intention for taking this? And I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but even more importantly, do others see that too? Like, I think if I'm entering a contest like this, I would probably show my images to a bunch of different people.
Going back to the evoke story, there's some difficulty there when you're dealing with abstract. Sometimes it's hard to tell story in an abstract or certain types of photographs, but this is the OPTIC challenge. That's what you need to do. You need to evoke that story to make the judge think about the picture and what's going on. Boy, correct categorization. Nothing will get you ejected when you're doing the landscape category and a beautiful picture of a woodpecker comes up.
Brommer, we're getting messages that are saying that the screen share is not up right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Share. Can people see your?
Yep. It looks like it's up now, but probably go back a page to where we're.
Yeah. But luckily we can. This is being recorded and we can edit this. Oops. Hold on. Okay.
There we go.
We're talking about categorization. The woodpecker in the landscape category. Boom. It's getting knocked out.
Yeah. Exactly. And then also, keep in mind that some things can go in multiple categories. So, think about what it belongs in the strongest. What is it the strongest image of? That woodpecker may be in a gorgeous landscape, but if it's really still the woodpecker's the master of that image, then definitely put that in wildlife. Let's make sure that, because even though it could play in both, pick just the category it's stronger in.
Well, now see that woodpecker shouldn't go in wildlife. That should go in the birding category.
Good point. I'm sorry.
So it's easy to miscategorize. But I think what we're just trying to really say here is that if you miscategorize, it's out. So not only if you put that woodpecker shot, now it failed landscape, and it also never got into birding. So the images,
Right.
even if it was the best photograph of a woodpecker ever, it would never make it. So that's kind of rough. Now, I think, Bray, you could talk about finish upload, because I noticed, like, I'll
Yeah.
see like 4,200 images submitted, 238 not finished. What happens
Right.
there?
So when you're in the awards force, and we're going to do a quick walkthrough in a minute to just show you guys how to upload an image in there. But when you do it, you want to make sure that you actually save and continue and that it gets uploaded. Otherwise, you can actually just put the image on there and then it can just sit there and it never actually gets added to the contest. So, that's a real shame if you thought that you submitted but you didn't. So just make sure that you actually get the confirmation that it's uploaded.
And when you do the run through, I guess there's a certain point in the end where
Yeah.
it becomes obvious. Okay.
Exactly.
I want to talk about the self-edit. The self-edit, Brent just mentioned something about editing, and we have another slide about some tips. The self-edit is really be very hard on yourself, because you're entering something which could potentially have another 2,000 to 4,000 images. So your self-edit, you got to make sure it looks really good. And we'll talk about the tip about asking your friends, getting some help with the self-edit. But I think that's a very big part. You got to be really harsh on yourself, and you got to be really tight on your edit. And it's very difficult to self-edit, because we created the picture, we have ego, and that fouls up the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So definitely getting somebody who doesn't have a horse in the game to give some comments and criticisms. If you knock it down to 3 images, God, show it, try to.
And then also, like you got to think about too, sometimes with some of these images too, it's like, all right, there's moments that make these images more powerful to me, but somebody that doesn't know the whole story behind when I took this image, it doesn't matter. Like, I have some great shots of the Grand Canyon that I took when I took my girlfriend there last year, well, 2 years ago now, but they're not the best shots of the Grand Canyon out there. I wouldn't submit them for that. To me, they're amazing because I remember that whole day and how much fun it was. But, I'm not, but Judge Brent doesn't know anything about that and is just going to toss those right away.
It's like remove the personal inflection and just go for the good photograph. Okay, so let's just talk about the categories. And we have the winners from OPTIC All-Stars that are up right now. So this was the last time we did a challenge. So street photography. Okay, let's talk about street photography quickly. What really is street photography?
So street photography, that's a fun one for me because I'm a street photographer. But, as I wrote in the description there, to me, I think it's about documenting the human condition. It's about it's kind of that nod and wink and smile about like how crazy life really is and how weird things can really be out there. So, street photography for me, it's not a picture, it's not a landscape of streets. Like, that's not street photography. It's not just a picture of a crowded room, but it's a picture of a crowded room where there's a story going on. It's all about the interaction between all the people in the image and the story that it tells. So for me, street photography is really, really importantly about the story. You mentioned Sheen before, but Jay Maisel, to mention somebody else that's a street photographer, light, color, and gesture. Those are what make a photograph. And for street photography, gesture is so important. And that's what you really need to win this category.
And the decisive moment. For those of you, everyone should know what the decisive moment is and who wrote the book on it. But the father of
Henri.
Like Henri Cartier-Bresson. So that's it.
Yeah.
Okay, night photography is really easy. Night photography is astral photography, the Milky Way, star trails, very low key. One of our keynote speakers for this year, the amazing George Tice, has the mobile station, the SO station, which qualifies as a night photograph. So it's a photograph that happens when the sun is down, and it's a pretty easy one to get. Most night photographers know who they are. Culture and travel. This is a pretty wide category, because this is what, when, as an American, when we travel to Florence, and we take some pictures, or we travel to really urban places in general. I think if you photograph in the Arctic, it's probably going to be a landscape, or if
Yeah.
it penguins, a wildlife. But like culture and travel, it's like marketplaces that's deep into the where there's people, the cities. Also, it could be sort of the postcard pictures, right? The type of images that end up on a postcard. That's definitely travel, and culture is really getting in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some overlap with street, but at the same time, it's really just it's about, this is for those faraway places that are just magic and just make us dream of the trips that we're not able to take right now. If you make me buy a plane ticket right now, then you've definitely won travel. So that's what I want in these images.
Okay, landscape. So this one that we see winning, this is a seascape. Seascapes and landscapes are they work together. Beautiful shot. It evokes mood. It's got great color. We know where it is, right?
Yep.
San Francisco. So the sense of place is very strong by incorporating an architectural element that is identified with the location. Landscapes, I actually adore landscapes because not do I like looking at landscapes so much. I like making the landscapes because you're making a photograph out there in the wild. That's really tons of fun. Wildlife and mammals, but I remember when this one won. This was a cute one.
It's so cute.
Was that the tail of the other lion?
That's
right?
the tail of like the mom. Yeah.
You know, I just want to dissect this picture just quickly. Look at the horizon is in the top third. The color is very nice. This really popped out when we were going through the edit, and then of course the cute factor with the cubs, right? I mean, you can't. It's got cute factor. It's got 3 layers. It has the foreground with the subjects. It's got the sandy beach, and then it has that sky. So the rule of 3 is shown in many different places here. It's a great photograph, and that's why.
And then also the tail's got that golden ratio going, especially with the way that the other line is laying down and going in. So it just brings your eye completely around and in and right back to that cub that's just biting on that tail's face, which, is such a great story on top of it. So like that just, it's really, this is light, color, and gesture and composition. Everything's there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great image.
Aerial photography. Now, this is something I've been dabbling with myself, working with drones, and it's stunning. It's amazing because you get this bird's eye view. You see things that you don't see when you're on the ground. So this is pretty good. Now, I did notice one thing: if you're a drone pilot and you're making your drone shots with it, just the same way that when we're on our feet and we step a little bit to the left, we step a little bit to the right, we come a little closer to the subject and we frame it. You're doing the same thing when you're doing drone photography. You're just doing it with a remote control. So, what we're looking for here is all those elements, composition. Look at this one: the horizons in the bottom third, the buildings dissect up on top, interesting looking clouds. It's a good shot. Now, here's another thing: aerial photography. We don't get a ton of entries for aerial photography, so your odds of winning an aerial are pretty good. So for everyone out there that has a drone, enter your shot.
Definitely.
Oh boy, the tough one. Fine art abstract, huh? Well, you said it before with Jay Mizell.
Yeah.
Light, texture, and gesture. And, I think the gesture at this one is going to really be a harmonious elements that kind of work together. But I don't think you go wrong with water drops either.
No, I mean, this one is definitely subjective, but that being said, it's one of those I know it when I see it type of things. So, like if you have a strong abstract image, it can really stand out. And we have a question if aerial has to be from a drone. So I guess if you're a pilot or if you're up in a helicopter, we're totally fine with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that, as long as your feet weren't on the ground. If you're up in a building and you shoot down, I don't think anyone's going to know that you were in a building. So, you may want to enter that one if it works really good, but technically it would be a drone or a helicopter, but we can't verify where you were at that moment. But
Exactly.
so
Yes.
thanks for that question. So yeah,
Yeah,
fine art
definitely.
abstract. Go for the patterns, go for bold colors, go for interesting abstracts, and see what you get. Abstract's definitely a tough one. Maggie Taylor will be judging the abstract uh, competition, so that should be interesting. One of our speakers. Birding.
Hmm.
So this is where we divided because birds are so important to the outdoor and the optic market. Eagles, peregrines, albatross. I mean, there's just so many species of birds and so
Woodpeckers.
woodpeckers, Woody woodpecker. You know, if Woody went right to optic, this would have never happened. But so we do birding because it's an important topic, and you know this is a great shot. Now, I personally wouldn't have picked this one because that horizon being split in the middle really bothers me. But I'm a composition fanatic, so that but
Yeah,
it it's got a silhouette. It's a nice silhouette, that's for certain.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really, this one is one of those where, at least for me, because I think I did the prejudging on this one, so I think I left that one in there. But I think for me, it's more so about that silhouette and that story that it tells. To me, that can overcompensate composition at times. I'm still definitely a composition nerd, and I definitely agree with you that if they had been able to kind of get a little bit lower in that horizon line, it would be so much better. It would just take it over the top. But, this is one where it's strong enough that I think it does still tell a story and it really does belong
You know, we
into
have a
the
little
shot.
difference of opinion on this photograph, and I think this is a great point. I want everyone to really understand this one very closely about what I'm going to say. You never can understand the vagaries of the judge. The final judge, you can have the most amazing photograph in the world, and there are reasons that the judge doesn't pick it, and those are the judge's own reasons. And
Yeah.
the trick to overcome this is enter a lot of contests, preferably the free ones, and the more you enter, you increase your chances of winning. But I'd say that if you don't win, don't take it personal. Keep entering. Uh, I had a I didn't get picked for a group show one time and I couldn't believe it. And I went to the show and I was stunned at what got in. And I was really mad at the judge. And I kind of cornered him and said, what's going on? And it was an alternative process competition. And he said, well, you entered a platinum palladium and there was just so much platinum palladium. I chose things that were a little bit deeper alternative process. I would have never thought. I thought it was all about my content, my picture.
Yeah.
No. So you just never know how that works
Mm,
out.
exactly. Yeah, there's
Shot
so
on
many little things that could just do it. So,
so many. The mood of the judge for that particular time. It could. Like I said, if you look at a picture of a WWF wrestler, and you're here living in America in the West, and then you look at a picture of a sumo wrestler, the sumo wrestler will that your eye will stop on that one because in the West we're just not used to seeing sumo wrestlers. We're used to seeing the WWF Rowdy Roddy Piper kind of people. So Stone Cold Steve Austin, but a sumo wrestler is so different, and I also think a much better form of wrestling. But regardless, that will resonate more to the viewer, to the judge. So I wouldn't say try to find out what the judges are and try to pander to them because that's like a dead end. Like, don't try to do that. Just concentrate on your good image. Speaking of good image, Brent,
yeah.
shot on film, your specialty.
Yeah. Yeah, so this was a great image, this one that we saw last year. It also, right now, you can't tell because of the way it's cropped, but this is actually a panorama as well, which is really nice, and that helped a lot with the composition on this image. It just had a feel and flow to it that just was really nice between the way her dress was and the lighting and the clouds, and just the panorama format really just lent itself well to this shot. Also, I think it looks to me like Cinestill film, so you could tell that it was shot on film for sure in the way that it was there. And then also, as I said before, it was film. The scan really does make a difference on how well you're scanning it. And the good thing is, if you do win, you are getting a great film scanner, so you will be good to for any other contest going forward. But make sure that it's properly exposed, make sure that it is not make sure that your contrast isn't way too low like I see on a lot of scans, because that for me, when I'm doing shot on film, would just get it thrown away immediately.
It's interesting too with film. You do see a little lower contrast in those that film look, which I think if we could describe, the colors are a little more muted.
Yeah.
It's got
I
that.
mean, there's a difference between low contrast and no contrast. Like if you get a bad scan, which I've seen plenty of times, like the blacks aren't black, like the whites aren't white. Like that's when I'm doing editing on anything that I've scanned, that's the very first thing I do is black point, white point, and I just make sure that I have a little bit of both. Like so.
Good. Yeah, you could do a whole class just on scanning. That's it.
I have.
Did that in the event space, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so those were the categories. We're going to take a moment, and I'm going to turn it over to Brent, and he's going to run you through a mock entry. We're going to move relatively quick through this because we have a bunch of images that were submitted that we're actually going to critique. So I'm going to stop the share, and you can take it away on a mock entry there, Brent.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Great. So I already had an account, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another one right now just for everybody here. So
I hope everyone can see that.
Can everybody see that? Just let us know in the comments before I keep going.
Yep, we're all good.
Perfect. Great.
Okay, so you're putting your password in there.
And then, so this is how you register. So we're going to click register.
Oh. Forbidden Planet.
All right, so let's see if that page is still up.
So while you're doing that, Barry asked a question. Why require an Instagram account? I find the T's and C's of social media sites to be very obtrusive. I'm not too sure what T's and C's are.
Terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions. Well, Barry, we agree, but they are they can be obtrusive. I hear you on that. We're not going to discuss that, but why we require it is it's part of our verification system. We have a slide in the end of this about we verify all the winners. We really kind of do a deep review of who won it to make sure that the image is theirs. It's not stolen. That's really important. Obviously we can be fooled, but we do a pretty thorough look and we check that out. So that's why we require some social media that we're gonna look for you. If you're a photographer and you're an island unto yourself and you entered the image, you might be a little hard to verify. We're gonna make it an attempt. Again, we want this to be fair, so that's why we do that. Take it away, Brent.
Exactly. So you guys will, once you've registered, you'll get to this screen, and then there should just be a verification email right here. So just click verify, go through, and you are set. So now what you're gonna do, so you're gonna go down here. Why is this? Of course. Of course, now we're having trouble. Oh, okay, it sent me a text, that's why. Okay, I didn't mean to have it. So I normally do not input my phone number for this, but and you guys do not have to, but autofill did that by accident. So if you do it to your phone, you will get a verification text instead of email, which is what I just did wrong. So as you can see, there are problems that you can do. So, I'm glad we're doing this run through. So make sure that you get your verification text or email so that you are set up and registered. So I am verifying now. Perfect. So now I can go ahead and start new entry. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick my category. So for this image, this was shot on film, so I'm going to do a shot on film. For the entry name, this is an important part because it's just the title for your image. I don't need your name. I don't need any of your contact information. I don't need anything but just a clever name for the image that you shot. whatever the title is that you like to do it. I'm just going to go with test, so that way I can just delete this image later. You're going to click that you understand and abide by the rules. If you guys click over here, that will take you to the contest rules. You are going to click that you are a U.S. resident, because unfortunately this contest is only for United States residents. We're not able to ship some of the prices, and it's just too many logistics. So as much as we'd love you guys to enter, this is only for U.S. residents. And then very important is that you want to just submit one image per category. I have so many people to try to put multiple images up in different categories, and those will be removed. We will only accept the first image that you submit into that category. So make sure that you don't throw away one of your best photos because you've submitted more than one image into the category. So now we are going to click Add Attachments. Here's my image. We're going to hit OK. And that is uploading right now. Great. Processing. As you guys can see, it takes a moment. And then this is where a lot of people get mixed up. If you just hit Save and Next, that would allow you to upload another image to another category, but you have not actually submitted your photograph. So Save and Next is great if you want to, think about what you're doing. You want to put up a couple images and then go back and make sure that that's really the one you wanted to pick. Otherwise, just hit Submit Entry in order to finalize it. Then you will get this page right here. Congratulations for completing your entry submission. As long as you see that page, that means that you are in and you are entered. Okay, so you will be good to go after that.
Yeah, Brent, now that I'm watching you do this, this was a really key moment with that next and submit the image.
Exactly.
That's where a lot of mistakes occur. So
completely. So once again, start entry. You're gonna pick your category, put it in, and then when Save and Next gets you to the next page, but on the final page, it is that Submit Entry is the key button there.
And then could you also show us the full confirmation so that you know that you've actually submitted?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that one more time.
Okay. Is everyone having fun?
Mm-hmm.
I know you're having fun.
That one again.
We always have fun.
And then also what's very important too that you'll see for that is if I go back over to my email, I did get an email that is an entry confirmation email as well.
Oh.
So there's two places that you get that confirmation. So once again, over here, not Save and Next, but Submit Entry. That will give me this congratulations page, and then momentarily I will get a second email about that other test entry that was submitted.
So no email, no submission. You got to make sure you
exactly. And you want to see this congratulations screen.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So everyone know that you can enter one image per category. So we've got, I think we're up to 13 categories now with gardening being added, or maybe 12. But you can enter as many categories as you want, but you can only put one image up.
Exactly. And no, you're not done all in one go. I just saw a question for that. The deadline is July 7th. So as long as you have your images in by then, you have plenty of time to go through and put up any images that you want.
Okay, and I see Anna answered Sarah's question about, can you submit in additional categories on different days? Absolutely. This is open until midnight, July 7th. Now, it takes some time. At the beginning of the contest, take some time to make sure your edits are looking good and whatnot. But you can do landscape on Tuesdays. You could do shot on film on Fridays. It's no problem. You just make sure that you're done by the 7th. Exactly. Okay, let's go back to the screen share and let's get into a little bit of. We have one more page of tips for you, and then we're going to, after we get to those, we're going to critique. Okay, so we talked about self-editing before, and I highly recommend.
It's not up again, Brommer.
No, it's not up. Okay, hold on.
Nope. There you go.
Okay. So self-edit, asking friends for feedback. I highly recommend you use your spouse, your brothers, your sisters, your friends. Show them 3 or 4 pictures that you're considering to enter. Which do they think is the best one? It's really important to get feedback on that.
Hmm. Yeah, that also helps you remove yourself from that situation of like, well, I have this really strong memory attached to this photograph. That somebody else that doesn't will be able to tell you a lot better. Also, there's all those other tricks. For example, the guy behind us in our backgrounds right now has a whole bunch of images side by side on the wall. When I'm doing layout, especially for like, I'm working on a couple of books on street photography right now, I have a whole wall that's just images up next to each other. And I leave them there for like a week before I even do anything to them. And I just look at them every day. And eventually one just doesn't have that feeling to me anymore, so it gets taken down. You know?
Also another one too that's laying out the images is awesome, Brent.
Yeah,
When you just said that, I miss doing that. I haven't done a project where you get to live with your photographs all over the place.
exactly.
One big one, you can, if you've narrowed it down to like 2 or 3 pictures, feel free to go on your Facebook, and this is a great one for Facebook. Post the 3 images and just say which ones do you think are I should enter into this contest that B&H is doing. So that's you can go out there. You got time. You've got a little under a month to go choose what's going on.
Yeah.
Post processing.
Yes.
There's a slider. On
Yeah.
one side of the slider, it's processing a lot. On the other side, it's not. Don't go all the way over to the
Yeah.
Somewhere towards the middle less is the right place to be.
So it's actually exactly like the clarity slider in Lightroom. If you take that clarity slider and you put it all the way to 100, you've overdone it. You want that around like mid 20s at most. Like, just kind of just give it enough that it needs to improve the image. Unless it's in the abstract. If it's in the abstract and it's like a whole thing, of course, go for it. But for 9 times out of 10, for your landscape or anything else, like, I don't want to see that old school HDR that's just like dialed up to 11. This isn't Spinal Tap. I want to see it like way down. I want to get a good technical perspective of it, that proper exposure that we were talking about. And that's really what I need from some dodging and burning but not too much.
Coco Chanel says when you get dressed up to go out at night, get yourself all dressed up and then take off one article or remove one accessory. It's like when you got the processing to where you like it, then just pull it back just a little bit. Okay, watermarking. Ditch it. Don't put a watermark on your images. You can put a watermark, but it's not going to help the judge. It can distract the judge. And very closely, you're going to notice something. B&H, we serve our customers. If you look at the fine print for the rules, the only people that are going to we're going to get a shared rights with the images to promote OPTIC and the next years and the next challenge that we do. The only people are the actual winners. So if you submit and you don't win, we delete. Your images don't go anywhere. You don't have to worry about your images being stolen. We're not going to use them. We're not interested in them. We only want the winners to showcase the program itself and to give a big nod to the winners. But those that don't win, we don't need it. So you don't have to be careful with us. We're on your side. We don't want to make enemies with photographers. That's why we have very specific rules. Some contests are done as an image grab, a royalty-free image grab for them. That's not in this case. This contest is about you. So
exactly.
You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. And then color space, that's a question that we get asked a lot. Honestly, with the exception of Google Chrome, most web browsers only show RGB anyway. So don't worry about it. We're not doing any really big prints or anything like that. We don't need Adobe 1998. So just RGB, smaller image size, which we're going to talk about in a second, is totally fine for this.
Modesty and nudity standards. We're a family company. We have a very broad presence to the whole world. So we ask that you don't show any nudity, anything suggestive. This is not a fetish erotica competition. Those are not on there. It's not a fine art nude competition. Those all have their place in the world, but just not in this competition. OPTIC is the Outdoor Photography Travel Imaging Conference. So
basically think of like Instagram and then standards at minimum, if not higher than that. Like when you guys are doing stuff, like we had an image that was in fashion last year that showed a little too much, and it was a shame because it was such a beautiful image. Like it was probably my favorite, but we had to disqualify it because it just was a little bit too much. So,
also a good rule of thumb is that if you think that this wouldn't pass the modesty or the nudity standards, then it probably doesn't. Just pick another image. And if you're doing fashion, choose models with turtlenecks. Anyway.
Oh God.
Image size, real fast, everybody. It's not so important because our award force does res it to the way we need it, but you're looking at a 3 megabyte to 5 megabyte image, has enough information in it. A JPEG, 3 megabyte to 5 megabyte is going to be good enough. Don't do a 20 kilobyte image. That will be too small. That's a thumbnail. But a 3 to 5 megabyte image should do the job.
Yeah, I mean, like the image I just put up, it took a while even to upload, and that was, I think, 3,000 on the long end, and it was like a 3.5. Yeah. So, like, and that's more than fine for anything that's going to be done with the images here. So you don't need more than that.
Brent went over this one before when you did the mock entry. The title description, keep it simple, sunshine. Do not write long descriptions, big titles. That doesn't help. Do it. Keep it nice and minimal. That helps out a lot as well.
Exactly. Like if you do win, we are going to credit you very much so. Your name is going to be prominent. I know your name because you entered it when you submitted the category. Like, I don't need your name on every image as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we talked about before the big rule: 1 image per category. If you enter 2 images, 3 images in the same category, we're going to disqualify all 3. So that one image per category.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. So we're cruising around pretty good. We've talked quite a bit. Let's get into the let's do some critiques. And
real quick beforehand, there are just a couple of questions that came up. We were asked if there's any time frame for when the pictures were taken. There is not. It doesn't need to be something that you shot in the last year. We understand a lot of people weren't able to do a lot of things last year. So don't worry about that. That's not a big deal. Yes, you can totally use, some software in your post-processing like denoise, or as I said before, like if it's a landscape and some HDR is going to help it, that's fine, but just don't go too crazy. That's all what we're saying. All of these tools are great, but just leave them at a more modest setting instead of dialing them all the way up to 11, because that's just going to get you disqualified on the prejudge.
Brian, while we're on that category, something else that I don't think we didn't talk about it, but the one thing, the ends justifies the means. If you want to use Photoshop, if you want to get super creative, you want to get in there with digital and do composites and layering and really tweak it, that's okay. We're not seeking, this isn't National Geographic where there has to be a high degree of honesty in the image. But if all that processing, all that workflow that you do doesn't help the image, it's not going to win.
Exactly. And then also, and I'm not saying this because I know there are some people out there that are amazing with Photoshop, and I'm certainly not one of them. But more often than not, if it needs that much work in the first place, it probably wasn't the strongest image that you had. So, like if you find yourself going down a deep rabbit hole to get this image to work, then maybe look at the next image that you shot after that one and see if you maybe nailed it then.
Exactly. Okay, so do we have a panel of photos from iPhone 11? Okay, absolutely. iPhone, Nikon, Canon, Sony, whatever. Again, the end justifies the means. If you have a great setup, no problem.
Yeah, and then also we're not looking at the metadata anyway or anything like that. We're not going to, kick you out because you used like something. Like you could use whatever you want, and then and also with the film scanning, somebody asked if it's okay if it's a digital, if they use the DSLR to scan the image, and of course that is totally fine. Sure. It's just that the actual image itself, the composition, everything had to be shot on 35 medium format, 4x5, etc.
Is there a specific aspect ratio or size? No. I mean, a long panorama may not get picked unless it's really stupendous because you're just looking at so many 4x3s or
exactly.
There is no specific one. Okay, so we're ready to do the crit?
Yep.
Okay,
Sounds
so
good
here's
to
the
me.
rules on the crit. For those of you that know me from the event space, I can be a brutal. The white gloves are off. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit tough because we're talking about one image out of maybe a couple of thousand that are going to be chosen, or one image out of 400. So I'm going to be a little rough on the crits. I'm going to give a quick crit, then Brent's going to give a quick crit, and then we'll just say, Brent, let's you and I just say if it's a contender, we're going to say it's a contender. If it's not, then it probably should go back to the drawing board. Okay, so
Sounds
everybody, don't be mad at us. We're not mean people. We're very nice. We're helping you out. We're just showing you some of the stuff.
Yeah,
So
I come from an art school background, so sorry, guys.
crits are tremendously important. So okay,
Yeah, tearing apart an image is a sign that we love you.
exactly. All right, here we go. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this is an absolutely lovely landscape. It doesn't have color. It's obviously black and white. It's quite beautiful. Sea stacks. I think it's a contender. I think it's pretty damn good.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a very strong image. It's nice. For me, the processing is maybe just borderline. It's a little too much. Like, I I like dodging and burning and stuff like that, but this is a little too much on the halos and a little bit too much on the sharpening. So for me personally, on this one, if it got back down a tiny little bit, it would be even stronger. But overall, I think it's a great image, and it definitely would be a contender in this contest.
Yeah, I would advance this one to the next level. Yeah. Okay, so what, street photography, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Amir, he put his copyright in there. I would go past this one, and the reason is that it's evocative, it's got mood, but somehow it's missing punch. It's close, it's very close, but I would probably knock it down, and I think it maybe a little bit more detail on the shadows. It needs a little bit more kick to it somehow. Brent?
So this image has a couple of things. It has some stumping going for it really strongly, which is that couple. That couple is brilliant. I can tell, before, as I said, like one of the things that I want to see is I want to see why you took the photograph. And Amir, I can see why you took the photograph, but I'm going to agree with Brommer that I would have passed this one as well, because there's a couple of things that are missing here and a couple of things that aren't working. First off, it's exposure, as you said. There's no punch to this image. So I want to see the blacks in this and the shadows drop down a lot darker. I want to see the highlights popped up more. I don't want to see that haze throughout the whole image. I want to bring that contrast back up. Also, street photography, two things that you did that are big here. You focused on the background. The subjects aren't sharp. And also, you're not close enough.
Yeah.
With street photography, if your photos aren't good enough, you're not close enough. And that's very true. So if you had gotten in, I understand you didn't want to ruin the moment, but if you had gotten in a little bit closer and you had gotten the proper exposure and the proper focus, this would be a contender. But unfortunately, because it's missing all those things, it's going to be a pass.
Looking at it more, I have a big problem with the lower right-hand negative space. That triangle that's on the bottom right, it's just not doing anything, and it's not helping there. But Amir, keep going. You're onto it, and really, Brent, what you said, get a little closer, get in there, take the picture, smile at them, hand them a business card, say email me, and I'll email you a picture that I just took of you. Now this is a little bit more pop going on. You take this one first, Brent. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this one is exactly as I just said. Like, the exposure here is perfect. Like, they have those deep dark blacks. They have that pure white. This is definitely, I would put, this one would make it to the next round for me. Absolutely.
I would stop on this one, but I don't think I would advance it. And the reason why I wouldn't advance it is that the left part of the picture, I feel the balance is off on this picture. The left part is too open and vacant. And I think, again, like we said, a zoom maybe a crop in on the subjects.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say maybe a square crop would be really good on this image.
yeah, and that also that dark area on the right, I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the one subject is walking off to the side. He's going in the wrong direction for the crop. So I think that I would stop on this one because it's dynamic, but then upon further inspection, I would probably move past it.
As I said, I don't know if this would be the winner per se, but it would definitely at least it would go past my first call by far, definitely. So
Straight up travel photo. This has got a lot of good stuff going for it. It's got color, it's got story. It's obviously the Far East. It's a holy place. I love the costumes on it, the dress. That all being said, it might not be a winner, and
sorry.
yeah, I would pause on it and I would look at it, but I think my problem with it is that whoever shot this, you had the right idea. It was the wrong moment in time to click the shutter. This is where you want to work the location. Because look at the figure that's all on his own towards the right. If that figure had maybe moved over a little bit more, and I do like the woman in the purple dress in the middle. There's good positive, negative space going around her. The woman in the orange who's sweeping, not crazy about her position. It's got a lot going for it. The right-hand side, I think it could benefit from a little bit of a crop. And man, the bottom, that architectural detail on the bottom, while very nice, it's too much. There's like 2 layers of it. Maybe crop up to the 1 layer and see how that border works. It's close. It's close.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely like it's a subject that I can definitely see why you took the photograph, but it doesn't have that oomph to it. There's no story being told here. And that woman that's sweeping, like there's a guy growing out of her head. Like, that's not good composition there. Like you really needed to wait a minute or to just focus in on either that woman in the purple dress or maybe that guy that's walking into the frame. Like, a few seconds later, this could have been a very dynamic image, but unfortunately, it just wasn't the right capture time.
And again, speaking of time as well, I'm also and again, everybody, we're being a little hypercritical here. This is a hardcore crit because the stakes are high. Stakes are $2,000 worth of cameras in each category. So I'm looking at the shadows, and I'm going to guess that this photograph was taken at either 11 a.m. or 1 p.m., 2 p.m. Boy, if this was shot later on in the day, those shadows would just be more dynamic and greater. So that's keep going. Too. Sometimes when you're traveling, it's tough. Sometimes you have to go back to a location to re-examine it.
Yeah, but this is, it's a nice image. Thank you for submitting it. But as we said, I think for this one, your timing might have just been a slight bit off. And, but thank you very much.
Okay. This is cool, and this is abstract. I like where it's going. I just think that compositionally, that the subject needed to rise a little bit. It's just too much black up on top. This one I would blow by right away because there's just not enough happening there, not enough texture, not enough. The composition is a simple curve. That's it on that one. Brent?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good idea, but it's got a little too much negative space there, and a little too much or a little too little. Like maybe if there was even more black, it would work, but it needs more of one or the other.
Yeah, the color palette can be expanded. We got blacks and dark blues. Yeah, I think that's just it's not going to pop for this. Okay, here's a panorama, and I remember editing this one, bringing it in. It's a very nice shot. Now, I don't know if this is going to be the landscape category or we go into abstract. It's good. It suffers from one small problem. There's no clear subject. It's not necessarily telling the story. Not saying it's a bad photograph, but I don't think that this could pull a win.
Mm-hmm.
It's too simple.
Yeah, I agree. I really actually like this photograph a lot. Like I do actually really like it. I think it's nice. It's got stuff for it that just works for me, but yeah, it doesn't have enough to make me understand where it belongs in what category, and also just because there are going to be such strong images that it's competing against, I don't know if it could punch up enough. But I do think that it's a strong image and I like it, but I just don't think it's appropriate for this contest.
Yeah, it's a good image. It's not gonna pull a win, but I would be very happy to make that photograph.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I am not a birding expert, but I know a good birding shot when I see one, and I think this is pretty good. Um, I might suggest a little tighter crop because I want to see those eyes a little bit better. It's a really neat shot. It's got a great background. It's fun. It's got a lot going for it. Um, I think it potentially could be a contender.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree about a tighter crop, but otherwise, I think it's a good image. So yeah, definitely submit this one.
Yeah, I would advance this one. I wouldn't in birding category. I would advance it. I think the real critique here is that the crop could be a little bit better because it's a little canted up to the top a little bit, but not enough to be dramatic. You got the shadows on the bottom. You know, I I don't know if this is the screen share, you can't see it. I'm going to just stop the share for a quick second here, and I want to show you guys something that I used to do. Creating, you do the crop tool with your hand. So look at this on the image and just crop it a little bit, and you can see it's a little stronger with that crop.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I'll do that, or I'll take 2 pieces of printed paper and just do it that way too, just so that way you even see like a white border, and it really does make a difference. So agreed with that. The analog ways.
there we go. Okay, we got the screen share going again. Does it look good, everybody?
Yep.
Okay. All right, great. So good job on this one. This is fun. Okay, I'm going to say on this one, no.
Yeah.
And it's a good idea, and I applaud the person for making the shot. And I'm not saying it's a bad shot. I'm saying that it's probably not going to get chosen in the OPTIC Challenge because it's too far from the photograph. It's been processed heavily, or it's been really interpreted. I don't think this would be. I would go past it for landscape if you were entering landscape.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's not quite fine art / abstract enough with the way that it's processed to go into that category, and it's way too done for it to be landscape. So, yeah, this one wouldn't really go too far in the entry round.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's not a reflection on the person's artistic talents or anything. It's just not. I think we're going for a little bit. I think it's safe to say that more literal interpretations of a photograph are probably going to rise higher.
Yeah, and exactly. And this also, just keep in mind too that we're critiquing for a contest.
Yeah.
So as David said, so that's why there have been some images like that other panorama that I love that image, but it's just not a good one for this contest. So just keep that in mind too as these critiques.
Okay, wildlife mammals. This is a good. I like that. I'm so happy that this one got submitted today because I have a lot to say about this image. Square, depth of field, beautiful shallow depth of field. I love the big paw. I like treating animals. I do animal photography. I like to treat animals like portraits. It's got a lot going for it. It's got the water. It's got complexity. It's done at the right time of day. This is the later afternoon. Look at that shadow. The sun is probably 4 or 5 p.m. It's all good. Everything's nice. The only thing I'm going to say, I'm going to critique on this one, is that there's going to be a lot of images that are this quality. We're going to see this. You're going to be up against, if Wildlife and Mammals has, say, 1,500, 2,000 entries.
It's going to have more than that.
Okay, even more than that. But I think we're going to see about a good 100 to 200 images that are about as good as this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what I'm going to say here is that everybody look at this image. It's beautiful. It's good. But for this one to win in the wildlife animals, it's got to have to go a little bit further. So great image, great work. Is this going to win? Boy, it's going to have a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a strong image. I like it a lot, but it doesn't have that extra something that it needs to really just be the one that's going to stand out from those probably 5 to 7,000 images that are going to be in that category.
And that extra may be a big salmon in his mouth.
Exactly. Like, and that's nothing to say that it's not a good photograph. It's just, that somebody else unfortunately probably got one that just had that little bit luckier timing.
I would
And,
love to make this photograph, and the person probably had a great time making it, right? I used a really long lens.
I've never made a photograph like this. That looks, I'd be very happy that it was this one, but
I think I would convert to black and white though if it was myself. No. But no, it's very strong. But I think the point here is that here's a strong image, and there's going to be a lot of competition in this category. So
still submit it though, definitely.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know, travel culture. I'm not too sure where this one would fit, but I'm going to say on this one that sign with the arrow, it's not doing enough to hold this image up. This image is nice, and I think if you were walking through that, you make the image, it's metered properly, it's black and white, it's all good on that side of the fence, but it just needs a little bit more action going on. Maybe two young 5-year-olds, girl and boy, walking, holding hands in the middle of it. A bicyclist.
You're turning into a W. Gene Smith photo. We've seen that one. It walks through Paradise Garden.
It's good. It just needs to. And this one probably, I think that I would stop to check it out, but I don't think I would advance it.
I think the same. That sign's bothering me. Both of the signs they either don't belong or they needed to be more prevalent. I'm sorry, prevalent. Whatever. That word got away from me. But they need to be stronger in order to make them really do something for the image. And then also this one suffers from something that I see especially a lot in street photography, which is it's shot at about 5'7".
Oh, yeah.
Like that's where the camera is. It's at 5'7". It's just right where, it's just, you're standing up, you're just shooting straight on. There's nothing else to it. Like, I feel like if the person had gotten a little bit lower, really worked those floorboards or gotten in a little bit closer to one of the sides and really or gotten a wider lens and just really worked that composition a bit stronger, it would say more, but
light, gesture, and what's the three from
light, color, and gesture. And a black and white can have color. This has color, but it doesn't have gesture.
I want to throw one other thing out there on top of that, and it's hard to get this, but when you get it, you usually win. If you can inject humor, something irony, humor into it. This is, we talk about evoke story, humor, irony, things like that help out a lot. So yeah, but good image. Cheers for making it. Don't think it's going to win the OPTIC Challenge.
Yeah.
Brent, let me take this one for a second, even though you're a street person.
Go for it.
So it's a poignant image. I'm looking at it a little closer now, and I like that you got the Coca-Cola, you got the democracy must defend itself from terror and Islamic fanatics, and you got flags, and there's another Coke that's down there, and there's a story going on here. It's got all that. My biggest problem with this photograph is the subject on the left, that cut guy with the arms. Brent,
actually, it's his ear that really bothers me even more, especially because his ear is so, so if you are going to have a crop like this, which honestly, the crop doesn't work, but, even then, just at least burn that ear down a little bit when you did your black and white conversion so that it's not as bright as those two women that are the main subject, because my eye goes to them and then it goes right to that guy's ear.
That
So,
guy needs to go. The three subjects, the three women are really and with the sign in the
right.
background, that's it. But that
Yeah.
guy just kills it there, and the
Yeah.
watch,
And I mean,
hot watch, very overexposed.
and I like that you got a Diet Coke in her hand with a Coke sign. Like, that's fun. Like, there's a lot of things
Yeah.
that work for this, but the composition is a little too busy and it's just not cropped totally where it needs to be. If you guys take a look at the work of New York, William Klein's New York, he's got a lot of shots that are very, very busy, where the composition is just filled up to the brim with people in like a crowd like this. And you can kind of see where it works versus this one is kind of just one where it's because you just don't have enough of that guy and you have too much, and especially the way that ear is just so bright and exposed, it just doesn't get there enough the rest of the way. But good for you for going out in that crowd and getting this shot. Like, this is stuff that I do, so I totally applaud you for getting the shot, but it's not gonna be strong enough to win versus some of the other ones, especially with the compositional elements.
You use your hand crop tool on the screen again and just look at the three figures. The figure is so much stronger, and this way you've only got the guy's like muscle and little arm in there, and then otherwise it's just as strong at the crop. And that's what
4x5 crop on it makes it a lot stronger.
A lot stronger, right? Keep the flags, and it's interesting.
But also, as I said, though, I still just think that like some of this is unfortunately is capture and camera, though, just in terms of moving a little bit just to get it just right, because like you still have that guy's forehead growing out of that woman in the back, and there's still it's a little messy, but it's, as I said, it's like
it's a messy, you're photographing this situation. I mean, it is.
Oh, totally.
Messy.
No,
but every arm, every look at all the lines are just crazy.
Oh, the lines are great.
Arm lines. There's so much going on. It's just that.
No, it's an image I would have made too. Like, definitely. Like, as I said, I applaud you for the Cokes. The two Cokes are great. For being in that crowd. That's definitely, especially because that's probably a crowd that doesn't like to be photographed. So that's good for you. Definitely kudos on that. And there's a lot of stuff that works for it. I like the stripes on his shirt versus the stripes on the flag. You have a lot of good elements, but it just needs a little bit of cleanup and a little bit of crop.
Okay.
And,
Brommer, keep going as we're over our hour.
Sorry.
Nope, that's all good. I think this is a cool shot. I love that it's black and white. Zebra, it's all good. Could benefit from a tiny bit more cropping going on. The photograph reads very interesting. You got to really look at it to understand what's going on. Cool shot. The only thing that I worry about this one is that it could get passed up because it reads a little bit difficult. And when we've got so many entries, it's got to read quickly and grab you. And this one, you have to kind of keep looking at it to figure out what's going on.
But I think a tighter crop would actually help with that too.
Yeah.
Like, I think that if it is in a bit tighter, it's going to read a little bit faster, which will help it too. So I think definitely submit it, but crop it in a little bit more first.
And it's a good shot. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay. This shot's got a lot going for it. I probably would throw. Well, Lee, you got your logo there. I would probably crop this a little bit so that I don't know if I would crop it in post or I would try to move around where the subject move around a little bit to the right. But Lee, it's a good shot. I don't think it's going to go much further in the contest. And really the reason why is that it's hard to read this photograph. It's hard to see the I'm not too sure if it's a gazelle or an antelope. I don't know. I'm not too sure what animal it is because it's kind of hidden in there. There's the shadows. There's hardly any shadows because it's shot again in the middle of the day. It's good job making the shot. You pulled it off in terms of exposure and all that. But I think that a big problem I have with it is that those branches going through the face of the animal, I think that hurts.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think that it's just, yeah, it's got a little too much stuff going on in it. Especially in the foreground, that's just distracting me from it. And, it's not that it's a bad image, but it has to pull its weight against that zebra that we just saw a second ago, or against this monkey that you're going to now. So,
Yes.
like, exactly, like, you
Yeah.
don't, it doesn't, that's the problem. You have to really think about it in terms of what you're competing against.
Okay, so here we got a tight crop, we got a great execution, a wonderful exposure. The soft depth of field, the bouquet in the back is all good. I I like the gesture, like the face is just, it's a very human type looking face. The only thing that I got a problem for this one to win, I kind of think those eyes have to be open.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the eyes are the window of the soul. It's important to make that contact. And I'm sure this person in your edit, you've probably got ones with the eyes open. So you made a big decision to go for the eyes closed. But here's the problem with the eyes closed. It's a good photograph. Everything works on it. If the eyes were open, then the monkey is connecting with the viewer better. If the eyes are closed, the monkey's not connecting with the viewer. We're connecting with the image, but we're not. It's the monkey's not. The conversation only goes one way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree that I think the monkey's eyes are closed because it's sunbathing. Like I can kind of see that from like the way that the light is in this shot. But at that point, then I almost feel like it would benefit from being pulled back so that you're getting that like light ray and that whole feel of that. Like this close, it's a portrait now. It's not, and it definitely needs eyes. And then also, as I said before, was post processing. I actually would like to see maybe a little bit of burning, like right around the nose, just to kind of because your focus is a little bit behind, so it just looks like the mouth and nose area looks a little too soft to me. So I think that like a little bit of just a little bit of burning or a little bit of sharpening tool in that area could really just help it a little bit more.
Well,
So if you have this shot with the eyes open and you can just clean that area up a little bit, I think it's a really strong contender at that point.
it's a cool shot.
Definitely.
Okay. We're running out of time, so we're going to go relatively quick on this one. This is a neat shot, and I would be happy to make it. The soft depth of field in the foreground, the very soft background, all good. My only problem with this one is that the colors in the background are kind of competing with the bird itself, and it gets it's a little hard to read. But I would stop on it, and I would consider moving it to the next one. But this one suffers the same thing that the grizzly suffered. When this image is being shown alone, it's pretty damn good. Looks good. Good composition. Everything's kind of working. Technical. But put it next to another 100 images that are of equal quality, it's going to get tough to be a winner.
Also, this one I think it actually is stronger as because of the way the background is with those colors competing. I think it might actually be stronger as a pano, even though it's a single shot, but just like a 16:9 crop or just kind of bringing it in a little bit tighter and just kind of not quite a normal aspect ratio. It's a strong image that way. You see that?
Yeah, I can. It's definitely a strong image, and the eye is cool,
Yeah.
and it's picking something up in the water. It's getting it's eating it, so it's good. But I
Yeah,
think
also Brommer might disagree with me on this, but somebody told me, at least when I was shooting weddings, that if you get a really strong image that works in a really weird sizing and it's so strong, that couple is going to buy a custom frame. So don't worry about if it has to be like 4x5 or like, this exact like golden aspect that we've always seen photographs in. Like if this is something where it works as like kind of cropped in like a certain angle, do it like and make your image pop.
yeah. Well done on the image. Okay. All right, you got a rainbow. I'm sure that this image, if you were in this place making the shot, you were going, oh, this is beautiful. You're totally into it. I feel that I don't care for the time of day. It looks too much midday. the light is very cool, and I think this one could probably benefit from some better post processing going on uh, to warm it up a little bit. And I, as a landscape, it's doing good, but I just don't. I think that this one's not going to be a winner. It's not gonna. We're gonna. There are going to be more. Let's go to that first landscape that we saw, that highly stylized one with the tree on top of the sea stack. The person's gonna pick the tree on top of the sea stack over this one because it's got a lot more evocative mood going on. This one is a good shot of a rainbow, but it's not evocative. It's a little too cool. It's a little too hot. The shadows on the left and the hot on the right. It's a little bit. It's gonna have some trouble. Good job making it, and I hope it was again. I would have loved to have been next to you making the shot, and I probably would have wanted you to stay there till late afternoon till the light really changes. But what you think, Brent?
Yeah, I think this one is what I said before. This is that shot that I have with Kesseline at the Grand Canyon. You know, it's a great moment. It's definitely something beautiful. I could see, as you said, like, I would like to be there and I would have enjoyed this trip too, but I don't think that it's strong enough to win the landscape category in that way. But, you know, I'm glad you had a good trip. It looks like fun. Like, and it's a nice image, definitely, but it's just, you know, it's not a competition image.
No, this is not. It's not gonna. Yeah, exactly. I think this falls into the same category.
Yeah.
Well, I like this one. It's got warmth to it. The sun, compositionally, no, the trees, the reflection of the trees hits the border of the photograph, where the sky is open up on top, so the balance is thrown off of it.
Yeah, a little. Bring it down a little.
Yeah, pick one. Pick a sky or pick a reflection. You kind of got to be a little specific. And then even if this was composed to our liking in that sense, it still could use a canoe, an alligator. It needs a subject. And if you Google composition B&H YouTube Brommer, I talk about the pooping dog, which was a lesson from Nat Geographic photographers Bob Christ and Michael Melford. And the pooping dog is an element in the photograph that something's going on. And the sun is setting. That's about it.
It's also about maybe 3 to 5 minutes too early. Like if in a few more minutes, that sun is going to be right below right on that horizon line, and that's really going to make that silhouette even stronger, and it's going to really help a lot with that composition too. Like it's a little early too.
And I'm also going to throw out that in the landscape category, we're going to see hundreds of photos like this, and we're going to skip by them very quickly because that doesn't have that subject popping out at you. So, you know, be tight. You can go back to that scene and rephotograph it, or you can try processing and playing it around a little bit. Okay.
Cool.
This is beautiful. This is strong. It's got grace by virtue of subject. I absolutely love that black negative space. I would advance this one. I'd say this is a contender for avian birding.
Yeah, I agree. It's a strong image, and yeah, the difference, the black and the white there is just a nice play. Good job.
Yeah, exactly. It just works. And you know, the only problem this is going to have as far as a win goes is all the other images in the category that have advanced. But you know, it's going to get up there, and that's what we want you to do. We want this. The goal of this was to not have to help you out and tell you how our process, what we think when we pick this out. Okay, everyone, we're on the last slide, and we want to tell you that we verify for accuracy and fraudulent entries. So I have a question. Brent, when you enter an image, you don't put your social media on the image. You don't, right? But if you were chosen as a winner, and we notify you, and then we go for a further verification process, is that accurate?
Exactly. Yeah, we notify you. If I can't find you because your social handles are completely different than the name you entered, then I would email you and ask for them. But at that point, for the most part, it's simply put, we want to try and find the person's photography website, or at least their Facebook or Instagram, and just be able to, especially if we could see the shot there too. That really helps. Like if I saw that you posted this shot 3 months ago, in your Instagram, then I know, yeah, you definitely took it. Like it's not something that you just found and submitted to try and win a camera.
You know, and also we're not jerks. We don't,
Yeah.
if you don't have a social presence, let's say you just don't like social media. One person dropped a comment about that. Hey, that's okay. We don't have a problem with that. But you are going to get some emails, and we're gonna try to find out what your deal is, if you're legit or not. So
Yeah.
that's part of the process. We want this to be fair. We want to be open. We want the people who deserve it to win it.
Exactly.
Nothing else. That's it.
Yeah. So, social's just the easiest way to do that. But, besides that, as I said, there's definitely, if you don't exist on social, like we will figure out a way how to confirm that was your image. That's fine. Like we'll work with you, as Brommer said. But, that just is the easiest way for us to verify.
Okay, we're going to end this, but we got one Q&A in here, and it says model releases needed for photos with people, but no dominant person, like the Indian family in Egypt. Okay, it's a good question, and it's a difficult one to answer right off the bat. We do not require releases to be put into this contest. However, if you go through the rules, if it's a very dominant person and you do win, it is handy to have a release for them. If you photograph somebody out in Egypt, the family, they use the example, the photos, the dominant, like the Indians family in Egypt, the Indian family in Egypt, you probably could get away with that one with no release. So you want to be just careful with releases. If we choose your picture to win, we're assuming that we're not assuming, we're taking you entered the contest and agreed to the rules that that things are released, that the image is yours. So we don't require the release. If it's a very dominant person in the picture, and the person is the subject, you should have a release. You could probably get away with it, because where the releases really happen is that when you do photographs in public and then you sell that as stock, and all of a sudden Coca-Cola buys the picture of the person drinking the Coke, but that person never agreed to that picture. Then, because there's money involved and things go a little bit further, it was done for commerce. There's more stricter laws are involved with that. If you're taking pictures for yourself and you enter it into a contest, you're probably going to be okay, and that's probably going to be fine. But this is a question for lawyers, and different countries have different things. The Indian family in that picture, fine. I think that's going to be fine. Again, if it's very dominant person and you sell the picture for stock, and all of a sudden the picture is on billboards and that person realizes it, that's a big problem. So you don't want to be careful of that one. Also, the last advice I have for that is that error on the judgment of safety and you'll be okay. So pick another photograph, not with a close-up of a person.
Yeah, there was the image of the Korka versus Nosenbaum. That was the court case that for street photography that said that it's okay to use an image of a person if it's in an artistic form.
Yeah.
So, as long as it's done in that kind of way, it's okay. And that definitely qualifies for like that Indian family. But since it's technically like Canon or Sony will share your image, it's on the borderline. So if it is like a really strong portrait or something like that, it's not a bad idea if it's somebody to just get that model at least just to have. But you don't need it overall.
Street
and then once
so hard to get,
just because I see it coming up again with social media, there's not a place to upload it into the categories when you're doing it, but we'll find you afterwards. So just try and be identifiable. If you don't have the social, I'll email you and kind of be like, hey, like, is it a different name or something, that where can I find some more of your work if you were one of the winners. So don't worry about that.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It's been an honor and a pleasure. Next week's webinars, we have Joey Terrell doing some abstract macro work, and we've also got Taylor Rees doing filmmaking in extreme environments. These are webinar formats. We hope you join us for those webinars. And of course, for OPTIC, we would also ask if you want to share photos on social media, tag hashtag hashtag OPTIC 2021. We'd love to see your work. I love surfing Instagram for that. And, we're really looking forward to providing for you one of the best optics ever, and hopefully the last of our fully virtual optics. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited and can't wait to see all the entries. And for OPTIC itself, it's always such a great time. And we're so glad that you guys are here with us.
So thank you so much once again, everybody. Take care. We'll see you in the funny papers.